Hello everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to build Maleficent's castle, the final toy box in my Kingdom Hearts adventure. But first, there's a few things I need to do that I forgot to do last time. It was a long video after all. But first thing I want to do, actually before we even do that, there's a loot chest here on the construction tower that I had added. Some of you may have noticed that in the playthrough video and the fact that it wasn't here, but we're going to put it on the second floor up here like that. And all the default properties on this are fine. For the loot, I had it configured for an extra health capsule. I thought that could be useful. Alright, and then I forgot to move the locator here up to the bottom of the tree, so you want to make sure you do that. And the other thing we need to do, there's one more logic connection on this sidekick tree. It's on my logic diagrams, but I forgot to do it in the video, and I just wanted you to be aware. Just to save yourselves some memory, we want to do a new logic connection on the Brave sidekick tree door for task number 3. When the normal response is returned, you want to come over to your replayer and clear it. And that will take all of the collectibles out, because even though you pick them up, they're actually still in the toy box. They're just invisible, and they take up a lot of memory. So it's good to clear that replayer. You don't have to do it, but it's a good idea to do it. And not leave those invisible collectibles laying around. And at this point, you can move all of the Creativitoys that we've left all over the place, put them below the terrain, and just get them out of sight. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and save my toy box, and then I'm going to go through the toy box door, and you may recall we left that down below. So in order to go through the door, you're going to need to put a little piece of terrain underneath this temporarily. And you could even leave that piece of terrain here. It won't hurt anything. But a little something like this block, put it under there like that. And that way you can get into that door. So while we're working on this next toy box, you can do that. But at this point, I'm going to save my toy box, and then I'm going to go through the toy box door and meet you in the next toy box in just a moment. Okay, here we are in the toy box for Maleficent's castle. And just like before, it starts out as an empty toy box, because that's what I created when I linked the toy box door in Timeless River. In my previous episode, I set the properties and I linked it to this empty toy box. And so this is what we have so far. It's just the default toy box. So the first thing I want to do is put down the sky changer. And for the sky on this toy box, come into the properties, under sky, we're going to go down to Disney Infinity 3.0. And we're going to change this to be Syndrome's Sinister Takeover Sky. That's what we're going to use. And now that we have that, we can delete the sky changer. It's just nice dark toy box. And then for our terrain, we're going to set this to be the toy box terrain. I'll set that to be my theme. Okay. And then up under the terrain category, we're going to drop down some additional terrain pieces. And we'll do it like this. Alright, so we're going to put 2 down like that. We're going to put 2 across on the other side. And then a row across the back, and these are going to use a different theme. For this, I'm going to use the World of the Wisps. I'll set that to be my theme. The player won't actually go back here. So it's not that critical, but since it's going to be kind of a thorny, grassy area, that works pretty well for that. Alright, and then we'll change our theme back to Toy Box Terrain. I'll set that to be the theme on that piece. Alright, so there we go. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to scroll to the left, and I'm looking for the cliff pieces. So we're going to start with this cliff piece on the corner like that. And we're going to put 3 of these down. And I'm going to put 2 of these down, and you'll see why in just a moment. And then on the large cliff, put 3 of them down, and 1 of these on the end. So what we're going to do is Maleficent's castle, if you remember the Sleeping Beauty movie, has a drawbridge that goes across it. So I want to build the drawbridge. And to do that, we're going to use some blocks out of the blocks drawer, the basic blocks. If we scroll over to the left, we have this large floor. And if you're just using the regular cliff pieces, you can place this piece, but you'll notice that boulder comes through it, and you don't really want that. These pieces here, these half-wide cliff pieces, don't have the boulder on them, so this sits on there better. And so I want to use that piece underneath the bridge pieces. And for the bridge texture, we're going to use the Wood 1 texture. I'll set that to be my theme. Okay, we're going to place 3 of these for the bridge. We're going to go 2 wide. So because we're using those, I've got these 2 half-wide pieces, and then we can use the regular cliff pieces, and then we have to have the half piece on the end to get us to the end of the terrain. Alright, so hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to pick this piece up and put it down, which will get us back to the other part of the drawer. And this piece is going to sit right on the end of the bridge, just like that. And then once again, we're going to come over to these half-wide pieces. We're going to place a row of these along here like that. And then we'll put the turn, or the corner rather, a couple of these, and a corner, and we'll just do the cliff all the way around the face of this. And that'll be it for the terrain. Okay, so now we have the base for our castle and the entrance where the player is going to start. So let's move the start pad now. And the player is going to start over this direction. About like that. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is build the castle. And the castle has some interesting features. I want a gate that's wide enough for this whole bridge, and there isn't one with the Dunbrock castle pieces, which is what we're going to use for the castle. However, Maleficent is known for her thorns, and if you come under Building Sets Group 1, there is a nice wide arch that's just the width of the bridge there, and I really like that. So we're going to use that as our gateway. Okay. So this will be the start of the castle. This is the entrance. We'll put a couple of little round corners on either end of that. And a couple of these, move them a half a nudge out to the right, like that. And one over here. Oops. Put it here and a half a nudge to the left. That will help you get everything lined up. Okay, and we'll snazz that up, make it a little more snazzy here in a minute. Now let's go ahead and put the castle walls in. That's up under Building Sets Group 6. If you go to the right, or the left, it's probably the same either way. You come to the castle wall pieces. And I want to put this with the rim, the little retaining wall there on the top. We're going to put that on the left, facing out from the castle. So this is going to sit in here like that. You're going to put 2 of them on either side, like so. And then we'll come and get the corner tower piece. We need to line that up. Put 1 on either side. And then back over to our wall. And I could have used this piece here. By the way, I might have been able to make use of that, but I really like the thorns that's on there, so that's why I'm doing that. Okay, so for this, we're going to place this, if I get the my screen grab here. Okay, we're going to put 3 of these here. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And to minimize the amount of scrolling, that's why I'm doing both sides at the same time here. And then the tower piece goes in the middle, like that. Again, 1 on either side. And we're going to put 3 more of these. Like that. One, 2, 3. Pick that up, put it down, which gets us back to that part of the drawer. And we'll put in our corners. Then pick this up, put it down. We put 3 of these on either end. Followed by the tower. And there we go. And we'll go ahead and add a couple of stairs on either end of this. So if the player wants, they can get up on the walls. Don't necessarily need to, but it's kind of nice if they want to attack from above, they can do that. All right, now we have these tower pieces. The large tower is what we're looking for. And when the player comes in here, I don't want them to see us generating the boss. So that's kind of why the tower is here, is to cover that up a little bit. And just make sure I get the width of this where I want it. Yeah, so we're going to place this about like you see there. Centered on that archway. And we're going to put 2 of them high. And then we'll use this large curve up on top for a nice finishing edge. Like that. And the player is going to need a way to get up there, so we'll add some ladders. Like that. And there we go. So that's the castle on that side. Now, because this is kind of the entrance over here, we're going to put a couple little towers over there. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and pick this piece up to get us back down to the thorns. And we're going to place a couple of these on top just to make that look a little bit more finished. We'll rotate it around so it's not quite so repetitive. Put the little cap on the top of those. Alright, so now we're going to center this piece down here like that and draw it all the way back. We're going to place this right here like this. We're going to put one on either side of that. With a little curve. And we'll do this on either side. And this is just putting a nice little barrier around the perimeter of this. It also helps kind of direct the player in that direction because that'll be the only open path to them. They can come over this way, but they'll quickly realize there's nothing here. So this is really not just decoration, but functional as well. Just again to try to direct the player where you want them to go. And now we'll use a couple of these smaller towers. I want to kind of center it on those briar edges. We're going to put them too high. And then we'll put a roof on top of that. Okay. So there is the castle. And that's pretty straightforward. It looks pretty bland though, so we're going to add some decorations now. So we're going to come pick this little piece up, put it down, and we're going to use these blocks. And what I want to do, I'd like to be able to see these briars from inside the castle. And you can use this large briar hedge if you like. And this is not how I did it originally. I stacked two of these on top of each other, but since then I kind of think I like this better because it lifts the hedges up a little bit higher. We're going to put these around the perimeter of the wall. Do this all the way around. Because again, I kind of like to see those hedges in the briars when you're inside the castle. Just helps reinforce the fact that this is Maleficent's castle and not a standard Scottish type castle. Alright, and then we'll top them off with these little hedges. And again, you want to spin every other one here so that it doesn't look too repetitive. If you just pick a bunch of these side by side, you can tell it's the same piece. Okay, so already you can see that if you're down inside the castle here, you got those thorns all the way around. And those do sit up a little bit high, so if you want, you can do what I did originally and just stack two of these on top of here. Let me just demonstrate. That brings that down like that. And just so you can kind of tell the difference when you're in the castle, you see just the tip of the briars overhead. And actually, I do think I like that a little bit better. So I would recommend doing that around the perimeter instead of using this tall wall. The tall wall, though, we will use for this area back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create kind of a little tunnel about 2 blocks out, like this. And I'm going to cap these with this. Kind of like it's a little hedge maze, but really I'm just trying to give some depth to the player when they're looking at it from inside. So these are going to be sitting down a little bit lower, and let's just take a look at that. So again, if we put some of these down like so, and bring this down, so now when you're in the castle and you're looking out that direction, you can see there's another level of hedges behind it. So it adds a little bit of depth as you're looking over that way, which is good. And then for some more depth, you can add, oops, some plants. If I can find them. Here we go. And I'm going to add a bunch of these around the toy box here offline in a moment. And I'll show you where I place those. But those will go outside even beyond that. And so you'll have a nice, good depth that makes it look like the world goes beyond your arena. And that's kind of important because this is a very small world. You don't want it to feel that way. All right, a few more little things that I want to do before I place all of those trees. If we come around the front here, we have those walls, and that again looks pretty plain. So let's go ahead and take these out, because again we're going to use the shorter hedge block here. These will sit up here like so. And then, let me grab my screenshot here to make sure I get these correct. Yeah. Alright, so in front of this, we're going to place some briars. Put this little piece here on the corner. Place this little piece out here like that. And I think we'll do another one of these. And then we're just going to kind of stagger these a little bit. And I'm just going to do 3 rows of them. Okay, and what that does is when you're over here on the bridge, you enter into the toy box and you come in, you see there's hedges out that way, those briars. It's not just one row of them, and they're staggered a little bit so that it doesn't look quite so repetitive. So it just looks like a field of briars over that way, and that looks pretty good. And what I just did there, do the same thing here on the other side. And so on down the way. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and go offline and add the rest of those briars, fix those walls, and add the plants, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, that's all of the trees and all the changes to the briars. So let me show you what I've done. First, you can see that I have moved all of the 3-block high walls. In other words, all of these I've taken out and replaced with 2 high blocks all the way around. And that lowers the briars down to this level just below the edge of the wall there, which means when you're down inside, that's what you see. And that just looks to me a lot better. And then I've added some trees, and the only plant cluster that I'm using is this one, the Fantasy Terrain Corner 1. I'm doing that to save memory, and you don't really need a lot of variety here because let's face it, this is a boss battle and the player's attention isn't going to be on the trees surrounding the castle. So let me show you how I've placed these, and again, feel free to pause the video here along the way so you can see exactly what I've done. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. The exact placement of these doesn't really matter. You're really just providing some background scenery outside of the castle. Okay, and that's what I've done. Now to style these, now that you've seen which piece I'm using, we're going to use the Dunbrock trees, and I'm going to theme all. Are you sure? Yes. So now that changes all of those trees to that. Makes them a little bit taller, so that now when you're inside the castle, you've got some additional detail behind those briars. And I think that just looks really, really sharp. So I like that. You're not really going to see the ones back here unless you lower these walls down and make them too high like we did here, which you can do. But the main reason those are there is just so that when you climb this tower to get Maleficent later on, and you look out over that way, you've got some trees sitting back there. That just helps a lot. And it adds a lot of extra detail that just looks really nice. And that's it for Maleficent's castle. Next time, I'll show you how to hook up the logic for the final boss battle, and then I'll be done with this series. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode or my future Toy Box projects. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment before you go and let me know what you think of my design for this boss battle arena. Take care.